What's going on? Thanks for checking out my next video on how to draw muscles and poses. And also don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Now in this video, I'm going to be drawing a pose that I found on Pinterest of a popular martial art movie. And with this one, I'm starting out with the head as usual, and I'm defining the line in the middle to show where the head is going to be placed, or where the central line is for right before I put the eyes and the nose and the mouth. And after that, I start to get into the body, which is why I'm placing the top half of the body right now before I place in the middle and then the bottom half of the body. And usually for that middle part, the middle part is usually always in place, and everything that I place, depending on the pose I'm making or the pose where I'm bending the pose, the only two things that are going to bend will be the top part of the circle and the bottom part of the circle, which you'll see in future poses. So right now I'm adding in the central line for the chest, and I'm adding in defining that shape of the chest area, and the chest always goes into the shoulder, which I've created with the circles. And I'm using cylinders for the legs, cylinder for the arms, and sometimes I may make an oval shape for the legs sometimes, depending on the situation of what I'm doing. And sometimes I might have circles for the knees also. So right now I'm adding in the other leg, placing in the foot. And for the feet, sometimes I'll use triangles or squares, depending on the positioning of the leg or the foot. I'm adding in the other arm there, or the forearm. Working the hand. It's all about learning how to manipulate shapes. I mean, some people can sketch or make the bodies using just straight sketching with like a messy sketch, and you can use shapes. Me, I like to use shapes most of the time, only because it's a little cleaner, and you're not and usually when you're making a sketchy pose, you kind of just you're drawing over it over and over again until you find the right one you want, and then you're erasing it. But then you're finding details and you're trying to figure out where everything is, because everything is so messy. I mean, some people are used to it, but I'm not really used to it. I mean, I may do it depending on the situation, if I'm doing something fast or if I'm just sketching out random thumbnails. But for me, I just like to do clean shapes and then go over it, erase it once, go over it. Or I may even create them in like a 3D program or Photoshop, and print it out, scan it. Now, right now I'm working in the details, defining the shapes with the blue side of the pencil, putting where the abs are placed, the rib cage and everything else. Adding in a little muscle. And he's super lean, and so I might just be I might add in a little more muscle than what's there, just because I like to add in that extra anatomy. But it's mostly for practice purposes, and when if you're just practicing or just doing it for fun, it's not really like a project or anything. You kind of just, you can wing it and do whatever you want with the pose. You're having fun with the pose, because you can do whatever you want. It's your drawing, your style. So right now I'm working in the legs, adding detail into that with the pants. And because I've had those shapes already laid out, it's easy for me to know where the creases will go, how it will wrap around the leg, because with the cylinders, you have to wrap the pants or the wrinkles around that cylinder, which is why for me it's easier for having shapes, because with the shapes you can easily know where the clothing can be placed and how the wrinkles will interact with the other parts of the body when you're drawing the clothing over top of the shapes. I'm adding in the shoes, or those little I forget what they call them. And I'm adding in the shading for the pants. Just a little just darkening it up, the area. I could leave it blank, but I decided I wanted to add a little shading in there. Now for the usually for certain areas, especially like for the chest, I'll add a little darker shade there, because sometimes I like to add shading in those darker areas more than what's there, just to make it pop a little bit. I'm getting into the hair. You know, the hair is always thicker than the usual head, so when you're making hair, you can kind of go above that circle for the head sometimes, because the hair is real thick. Adding his little beard, goatee thing on his face. And right, I'm just fine tuning all the areas, getting in the hand. But that's it for this video. Like what you see. Want to see more videos like this? Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. All right, take care.